Texas State Senator Charles Perry. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Just driving right up to my office here in a second. But how you doing, Chad?
Doing all right. Appreciate you coming on with us today. I don't think we've talked to you since the committee chairs were announced. And, of course, you are on some big committees, and you are the chair of the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Water, and Rural Affairs. Tell us a little bit about your plans just on the committees that you're on. I know higher ed and also health and human services as well.
And criminal justice,
yes,
actually.
Sir.
So, yeah, it's a great committee assignments for District 28. I mean, all 51 counties have something that's relevant to either one of those committees. I'm encouraged that Patrick put me in a rural chairman capacity because I don't think there's a more rural community than the Senate District 28. Water will be the focus. It'll have all types of debates regarding property rights, the ability to make Texas secure for water going forward. And we've got some big ideas, and none of them will be law today, but it's probably just a time to produce some legislation that says let's have a discussion about what are our water options, what are our water resources. We will also have the SWIFT funding projects that have been voted on a year past November that has prioritized the first phase of some of the SWIFT funding projects that have been approved. And we'll have a debate of who's on that list and how that list was evolved and why they became a priority or not a priority, or if there's something that was left off that needed to be amended to put into the first phase. Senate District 28 absolutely has, probably from what I can tell on the water maps, some of the area of my district is probably the least served water resource area that the whole state has. So I want to make sure that there's some consideration at least of having those guys in that process and on that list to move forward with their water needs. So it'll be a water committee, I believe, and then ag affairs. We've got cattle issues, obviously, coming through, obviously, how we protect our food supply, immunization or not immunized, or labeling or tagging and not tagging. And so that'll be a discussion. And then we just constantly have the Wildlife Department came in yesterday with some issues. They're working on feral hogs. So it'll be a very diverse discussion, but a fun committee.
Visiting with Texas State Senator Charles Perry, you filed another bill yesterday, I believe, dealing with synthetic drugs.
Yeah, it's a two-pronged approach to that issue. I've got a compounding bill out there. Senator Huffman has a similar component or a compounding bill. So one of those two will take out of the Senate, being State Affairs and senior member. Hers will probably get the legs on that issue. And then it was important to bring in another approach that's been successful in so many cities across the state to defeat that heinous drug that it is and put it out there. So the labeling is something, it's an ordinance that Lubbock's used successfully, as well as many cities in my district, and it was just made sense to make that another approach to taking synthetic marijuana off the streets.
I want to ask you something. I had Governor Abbott on yesterday and asked him about open carry, and this is something that you've been down in Austin. You've seen the uproar, if you will, about open carry, and then some of the actions that have been taken by one of the groups, Open Carry Tarrant County. And I asked the governor yesterday if he thought that if open carry still had a good chance. He believed that there was a high probability that open carry still passes. You're in the Senate. You're talking with other senators. You're talking with other lawmakers. Is open carry still one of those issues where there's a high probability that it passes? And you take a look from the other side. Are open carry proponents, at least some of them, are they shooting themselves in the foot by some of the actions they've taken?
Well, that's a great pun, and it's well directed. Yes, they are. Their approach to coming into the legislative process, trying to intimidate and threaten legislatures to move their agenda forward, is absolutely the wrong approach. So, I think that we're human down there. We're doing the best we can with the information we have. But when you take that tactic, I think obviously as humans, you're going to kind of take a different approach and step back. And look at that analogy of are these people worthy of having a gun in their hands when they're threatening legislatures that if they don't, within inches of their life at some level. So those are issues to the side of it. Your question regarding open carry in Texas, I think just kind of the census is we're going to hear every gun bill. Joan Huffman has said State Affairs will have a gun bill day. Every gun bill will give its day in the committee, and there'll be votes taken, and at that point it moves forward. I would say the general sentiment is that a open carry subject to licensing under CHL provisions would probably be appropriate. And that's an important fact, I think, that people need to understand. There is a process through CHL where background checks and some other detail is given. And some of the folks on the aisle that are coming in with intimidating tactics have issues in their background that they can't get a CHL. So there's always more than one agenda that's apparent. As Paul Harvey would say, there's always the rest of the story. So it's going to be an interesting debate. We're going to hear a lot of it. And I think if one does surface out, it'll be a CHL. It'll be a license to carry open or concealed is what it'll be.
Well, and I see where I think they're calling it constitutional carry, where
right.
you don't have to have a license. I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, I think the bill that was always more likely to pass, or
right.
would be more likely to pass, is something that follows along the same lines of CHL. If you have a CHL, right. you can open carry. Now, let me ask you about that. If someone has a CHL already, would that cover them on open carry?
Yeah, the question there is, are we going to reissue a new license that says license to carry? And there's an expense associated with that. So I think it'll probably be one of those deals upon renewal. I don't know. We haven't talked about those
sure.
details. But upon renewal, if you're a CHL carry, it'll say license to carry. I don't know if there'll be this massive influx of folks with new license to carry issued, because obviously if it applies to CHL license holders, you shouldn't go to the expense of reissuing cards that changed one word on the license. So I think on a renewal, you'll have that changed in that format.
I want to ask you one more thing before we let you go. The Emerging Technology Fund, Governor Abbott has proposed scrapping that, moving some money around. In theory, that would maybe help out Texas Tech, other colleges and universities around the state as well. What are your thoughts on the proposal that he has laid out so far?
I like it, and I've not made any secret that I think that fund has its problems, and transparency committees and other places. Last year we came to the realization that they were not accountable. So I like his proposal. I like the fact that our state institutions are already research-driven, can take some of those dollars and put them to work probably more efficient and effective. I also want to have the debate that not only Toyota manufacturing is important to the state, but you can go out into the rural West Texas regions where it's the 15 and 20 employee companies that have the economic welfare in the hand of those cities. So I want to have a discussion as we go through. If we dismantle that funding and reapply it in a different format, that rural Texas has an option of applying for funds no different than a Toyota. It's great to have them, but out here in our area, we overlooked many, many times on economic development from the state level as support base. So we got to have that discussion too.
State Senator Charles Perry, appreciate your time as always, and I'm sure we will be visiting again as the process continues down in Austin.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Have
a good one. That's State Senator Charles Perry here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO.